Hello, good morning. I want to start with a poem for you that I'm going to read off my computer, which is over there, so I won't be looking at the camera. It's a poem that I was reminded of by one of my teachers yesterday that I love so much. And the poem is by William Stafford. Maybe you've heard it. It's called The Way Things Are. And he says, "There's a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about, people wonder about what you're pursuing. You have to explain about the thread, but it's hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen, people get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread." And so for each person, the thread can feel like a different kind of phenomenon. The thread for some might be like the Word of God. The thread for some might be the felt sense of planetary rhythms. The thread for some might be nature, connection to nature. For some, the thread might be simply the capacity to tap into present moment experiencing things just as they are. Or the thread might be some sort of metaphysical sense of connection to the universe or the planet, being like a child of God. Whatever it is, whatever the thing is that gives you some capacity to feel through the more surface vibrations of this life, the way the poem suggests. Tragedies happen, people get hurt, we get old, we die, we suffer, and it's profoundly present now. But underneath all of that, there's a deeper truth. There's the heart of the story of our existence, and like how we connect with that thread is personal. And I believe, as a practitioner, a student of life, a student of yoga, a student of the Dharma, a disciple to reality, I try my hardest to be a disciple to reality, life as path, life as guru, that underneath all of these little surface disruptions, big surface disruptions, is there's a place in us that we can connect with that never dies, that was never born. And how one describes that and relates to that is epically personal, and can come through in movement on the mat as we go into the inner realms, under the skin, under the obvious, and see what we find. So for this morning's practice, for sure, some blocks and a belt, and 2 blankets for sure, maybe 3 or a bolster. 3 blankets or a bolster, but 2 blankets for sure. 2 blankets and a bolster, or 3 blankets, or do your best. We're going to start in Sukhasana. Have one of your blankets near. In fact, you could sit on it. Sukhasana is the cross-legged position where the knees are not wider than the feet. Feet and knees about the same distance apart, so the knees stack over the feet. You could be a little closer, right? I wouldn't go further. I wouldn't take the knees wider than the feet. And from this perch, I'm right on the edge of my blanket. You can capture with your hands, catch the front of the knee, upper shin, and like you're plugging prongs into an outlet, plugging a plug into an outlet. invite the energy of the thigh bones to dive deep into the back of the pelvis. So I'm going to do a little pull with my hands and use that to invite thigh bones into hip sockets and invite a securing, a gathering, an including of my whole seat, the legs, the sit bones, the feet. And from that plugging in, like a circuit is connected, inviting my energy to rise up and reach down. And the energy I feel that does that is deep in the front of my spine. So the back of our spine is really close to the back surface of the body. The front of the spine is right in the middle of your torso. It runs straight down the center, not straight, but a curving line of energy and connective tissue through your center that connects like center of pelvic floor to the pituitary and pineal glands in the brain. Can you go from the surround, surface of body, surface of face, back of skull, low belly, back of sacrum, can you go in from there? And maybe that sense of a thread, a sutra is there. And from that central channel, the Madhya Sutra, sometimes it's called. Can you hook up the legs? Can you hook up the arms? Can you hook up the breath? And let that continue to call your awareness inwards. Gently start to bend forward from the hips. Hands can come forward to catch you. There might be the urge to widen the knees or readjust the legs. See if you can stay just as you committed, unless there's something dangerous or terribly intense that you can't include. I'm going to keep walking arms forward like down dog arms. From palm to palm, can you feel the connection, the sutra, the thread that runs, say, from the heart of the palm of the hand, underneath through the carpal tunnel, underneath the soft inner arm, up to the hollow of the armpits, and connecting from the hollow of the armpits across the back body. So this like right to left, left to right circuitry of the arms carries you forward without losing the connection to the deep center. I didn't tell you which leg to put in front, but go towards the front leg foot. Go towards the front leg foot. Bring your down dog arms around. Keep reaching the heart. So also, can you find from the right to left, left to right thread of the arms, from palm to shoulder blades to back of heart to other palm, can you find the connection not only head to tail, but bring that whole thing with you and feed it down into the legs. So there's a clear connection from tail through both thigh bones, both lower legs to soles of feet. And try to twist this a little bit. So if you slide the outside hand, for me it's my left hand, back towards the body, back towards the legs, and then tip the lengthening side, shoulder, ribs towards the floor in front of you. So adding a little twist. My right ear is laying on my right shoulder. And we'll take it to pure side bend so that, in my case, it's my left hand and elbow can go to the floor, and then open up the side that was twisting down and forward now to the ceiling. The shortening side hand or elbow could be on floor, and that's usually not really a choice that you make with your ego. Like, I don't recommend that, but let the tissues dictate to you what's the most appropriate position for sustainability and effect. And then with the top arm, the reaching arm, turn the palm forward, high. And like you're grabbing a bar, like a latissimus pull-down bar in a weight machine, and drag that imaginary bar towards the back of your head, elbow pokes to sky, and squeeze that top shoulder blade back and down, straighten the arm down towards the floor, and let that be part of what pulls you up. Switch legs. Other leg in front. From the hollow of the palm of the hand, reaching forward, simultaneously pulling the energy back through the arms towards the heart. Feel the connection across the upper back with the shoulder blades. A line from back of heart up to top of head, reaching down to tail, reaching. Beautiful opposition, head to tail. Try to stay extended through the spine as much as possible, even though it's a forward bend. And I invite you at the bottom of the exhale to feel the contrast of the reaching long hands to tail. When you breathe out, that the energy of the musculature, pelvic floor, breath diaphragm, soft palate, those sheaths of muscle ascend headward. But the sit bones themselves can root more deeply down and back. Taking the heart, the body, the head towards the front leg foot. For me, that means I'm going to the right because that's where my left foot is. Eventually taking the outside arm, shortening the side arm back towards the outer leg. It's still on the floor. And use the reach of the lengthening side to roll towards the front. The repositioning of the outside arm helps to push you, turn you, twist you, spiraling that central channel. Okay, pure side bending. So the arm that's to the side stays to the side, and simply turn the torso open so you're facing with your whole abdomen and face the space in front of you, and that upper arm can reach as like a continuation of the same side sit bone or tailbone, reach side body. So it's rainy here in New England. Hopefully we get lots of April flowers because we've had lots of April showers bring May flowers. So we're going to have tons of flowers in May because we've had quite a lot of rain. And so I'm feeling the need to bring some energy, some heat up because of this rain. So bringing some love to the upper body. Help you come love and energy and attention. Been focusing a lot on the lower body in my classes lately. So lose the blanket unless you need it to sit. If you need it to sit, you want it to be a little bit narrower, so you can make like a little narrow rectangle. And I'm going to turn so you can see. So you don't want much blanket behind you if you're choosing to sit on the blanket. And grab one of your blocks and put your block. You got 3 levels to your block, right? Flat side, second side, and then the tall side. So I recommend you start with it on the flat side, and that you turn, it's wide across the back, and I'm going to turn around. I don't need the blanket, so I'm not going to stay on it, but flat across the back of the pelvis, and catch the heels of the hands on the block so the fingers are turned out to the sides. So basically you've brought the floor up behind you to put your hands on a little piece of floor that's higher. Elbows are soft, and then retract the shoulder blades. That's another way to say draw your 2 shoulder blades together. And like you're trying to push the block down into the floor. You might even feel like the hips get a little lighter, the spine gets a little longer because of the squeeze and the push down. I'm going to turn back sideways. See if you can avoid back bending here. And for some of you, it's like, is that even a choice? You'd be like, that's not even a choice. But for others of you, it's a habit. So for me, it's a habit too. So see if you can keep the spine neutral and invite the action of the shoulder blades to be independent of the spine, because they really are. They're not independent of the collarbones, and they'll tug on the breastbone. So this might be like a breastbone lifter, chest spreader, but it doesn't have to be a back bender. And then maybe wrapping the hands around to the back of the block, so fingers point back. Pinky sides of the hands touch each other. Couple more breaths. I know it's intense, or it's likely intense. And can you not lose the thread in the midst of the intensity? From here, releasing, arms straight out to the side. Let's do palms face forward and look for even spread across front and back. Even spread. So it's like your arms are 180-degree line. And feel the practice and exploration of lengthening the front side. So shoulder blades draw towards each other behind you. You don't have to back bend, don't back bend. Broadening the collarbones. Collarbones reach back as the shoulder blades slide together behind you. And then if we lengthen the back line and shorten the front line, feel the process as the arms swing forward, that the shoulder blades widen, collarbones narrow. And you can bring the hands all the way together without changing the shape of your spine in theory. It's entirely possible, not even just in theory, in reality. Take arms wide, find 180-degree pure balance, and then again, as if the skin on the palms and the inner arms can grow longer, reach further and gather from the fingernails to the inner border of the shoulder blades. Your backs of your hands don't come together behind you, not like the palms come together in front of you. So don't force it, just find the edge of the movement, pause and squeeze and sustain. And then one more time forward. Feel the movement of shoulder blades and collarbones. Can you find that thread from mind, feeling, intention to the action? And then we're going to bring our hands on the block behind us again, but one level higher if you can. Get the heels of the hands on the outsides of the block. Fingers go out to the sides, and then draw those shoulder blades back. Shove the block into the floor. If it proves to be dramatically more difficult with the block on this second level, take it back down to the first level. Repeat. Repeat the place that was the most challenging without crossing that threshold of so challenging you get no benefit, no feedback, you're just struggling. Maybe the hands wrap all the way to the back, a bigger, tighter, stronger squeeze through the shoulders. And feel, oops, I was starting to go into a back bend. You guys have to bust me. I don't know how you would do that, but here we go. Few more breaths here, shoving the block down, magnetizing the elbows back. And woo! Before we leave this little post here, check out, one hand is definitely doing more. One arm is definitely stronger. Can you relax that stronger one and get more action in the sleepier one? Okay, that's enough of that. Let's put the block down. And if you're sitting on your blanket, pluck it out from underneath you. And let's unfold it into fourths. So a big, flat, soft rectangle. And lay it on the mat. Fringe towards the head side, like I often do. Don't need the blocks for now, but have your belt ready. And you can do straight legs here or feet on floor, knees bent. I'm going to do a full body stretch. So see if that resonates, and maybe a little length on left side and then a little length on right side, and do this sort of ladder climbing, left side, right side, lengthening. Don't forget to extend the thread all the way to the tips of each toe, and decide which direction you want to orient those toe tips, whether it's more to the ceiling or opposite the head, or if you add any twisting or pronating, supinating. It's not just like it's one straight thread from point A to point B. It's like a tapestry. And we are woven in it. And then from here, bend the two knees. Feet on floor. And arms to the sky in a soft O shape. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to turn so my head is to the camera so you can see better if you choose to look, if you're a visual learner. So really soft O arms, like an O shape. And feel the midline of your back body, your spine. Hopefully that's clear for you on the floor. And as we start to gently, slowly widen the softly curved arms, I call this O arms, that you're going to slowly and sequentially lay the backs of the arms on the floor from the spine. So feeling first spine, and then the flesh between the spine and the shoulder blades get to the floor. And then now I can clearly feel the inner border of my shoulder blades. I don't have the full surface of the shoulder blades on the floor yet, but I'm getting there. And once those touch, now I can feel shoulder blades on floor. I'm looking for the joint, the shoulder joint proper between humerus, the upper arm bone, and the shoulder blade, the scapula, before the elbows get to the floor. Right, so the middle of the humerus bone, and then the lower humerus bone, then the elbows. So it's slow and soft and strong. And then once the elbows are on the floor, a real widening across the chest and the back. Looking for the upper forearms and then the middle forearms before the wrist or the knuckles. Lower forearms, back of wrists before the knuckles, before the fingernails. No gaps. So if you've got a gap that's developed behind the elbow, drop the elbow back. If you've got a gap behind the wrist, press the wrist back. So backs of hands. And then you look to get all 5 fingernails of each hand, which is actually quite hard. I usually do the first 3, thumb, index, ring fingernail first. No gaps anywhere else behind the arm. And then I look to get the ring finger without losing thumb, index, or middle, and then I get pinky finger. And then breathe into the width of the arms and stretch that thread from the 5 fingers of each hand through the heart space and send it out to the sides. Keep this width, keep this spread, keep the full surface of the backs of the hands on the floor, backs of the arms on the floor, and then bend the elbows 90 degrees so you're like field goal post arms. And ideally, going from straight arms to bent arms, you don't lose any contact on the floor. No contact. So you might have to do it a couple of times. There's a tiny rotation that happens at the level of the upper arm bone, the humerus, when you do that. Keep the full spread of back flesh, arm flesh, hand flesh, finger flesh on the floor with your elbows bent. Breathe wide into the armpits. Breathe into the ribs, like open the ribs like a fan, like a handheld fan that you spread open and make a lot of breeze. And keeping the backs of the wrists on the floor, I'm going to turn again. Backs of the wrists on the floor. Some of you have done this with me before, no doubt. Curl your fingertips towards the palm of the hand, the hollow of the hand, like you're going to make a fist. But first just the fingers, right? So you still got the knuckles on the floor, the elbows, the shoulder blades, the arms. And as if you were sliding your fingers through a nautilus shell, like they could keep curling in forever before you make a hardened fist. I call it an infinity fist. So keep curling the fingertips in so that eventually the backs of the hands curl up, but the wrists don't. I call this the Bowser. We did it in a class pretty recently. And then can you keep the backs of the wrists on the floor only and kick the elbows up? So elbows are up, knuckles are up, but the backs of the wrists are diving down. And I wish that I could see you guys, because no doubt there's some inaccuracies. I'm not wrong, they're just not exactly what I'm after. So if you need the visual, take a peek. It gets a little shaky and quivery in there, working on the side chest muscles, serratus muscles. Don't harden the back. So can you inhale back into your spine behind you and soften and spread the back body flesh into the floor. Last moment. And then from here, relax the elbows down, relax the hands. Take the arms wide again. And then flip the palms over. Wait, do that again. Unflip the palms, backs of hands to floor. In fact, turn the palms so the hands shine, palms face where the top of the head is pointing. So if you were standing like you were holding two trays, one in each hand, and feel that spinning, it's external rotation, sort of drive the shoulder blades a little down the back. Keep them there, keep them there. Keep the shoulder blades away from your neck, away from your head. Neck curve is there. And then rotating so backs of hands are on the floor. Check in with those shoulder blades, they didn't slide up. And then keep rotating so you got pinky blade on the floor. So we're turning the hands the other way towards internal, but don't let the shoulder blades move. And if you can get palms to the floor with the shoulder blades snug down, you might be getting some tremendous feedback in your forearm muscles, the connective tissue between the two forearms. And if you have any bandwidth left, lengthen the thumb side of the hands. So that would swing all the fingertips sort of in the direction your head's pointing. I'm straightening my legs just because I want to. Feels good. Go for it if you wish. And I'm just like trying to be as flat to the floor, from palms through spinning arms or spiraling arms to shoulder blades to back of heart, down to kidneys. How fun. From here, if you straightened your legs, bend them again, feet on floor. And bend the elbows, swing hands down to point towards your feet. Keep your elbows wide actually. And you pick your hips up and tuck your two hands, palms down, stack one on top of the other in your lumbar spine. So when you bring your bum back down, tail, sacrum's on the far side of your hands. Your hands are stacked under your lumbar curve. And your arms are in internal rotation. Now, how far you tucked your hands under is a factor for what you have to deal with as a byproduct in the shoulders. So I've just got hand on hand. If you were to scooch the hands closer and have like wrist to wrist or heel of hand to wrist, it changes what the shoulders have to do. Now I'm going to use my feet. Use your feet to nudge some weight towards the head. So it's like you're trying to push the body a little bit up and over the hands. This will help to keep the backs of the shoulder blades and the shoulder blade flesh sort of tracking down the back and not winging into the floor, poking into the floor. In theory. And at some point, putting the other hand on top is probably necessary. If you've got something quite strong going on here, stay with it. You don't have to change it yet. I'm going to waggle my feet a little bit wide. I still have the first hand on the bottom. And alternate tipping a knee, one knee in towards the opposite foot. So one leg at a time, internally rotating. This is going to change the pressure in the hips and the spine, the back, and thusly your hands. So for me, it ends up being a little lumbar massage. And it changes the dynamic that I have to, I'm going to say deal with, that I have to absorb, that I have to include from the hands to the shoulders. I'm switching which hand's on top now. Pausing in stillness with the legs. Nudging the weight a little bit more headward so that the shoulder blades feel a little more secure. That's so different with the other hand on top. Not so much in my shoulders, but in my spine and hips. Now I'm going to go one leg at a time, internally rotating. So it changes where the pressure is on the back and on the hands and on the shoulders. So a little fluidity here. I really like this. I hope you do too. Don't harden the upper back or the very delicate place between upper back, like so the middle back. I was going to say between upper and lower, the middle back where the kidneys live, where the thoracic curve starts to turn into the lumbar curve. How long, how big can you support the thorax curve being for those of us who are habitual backbenders? Okay, pause in the middle. Lift the hips up, stretch the arms long. Can you interlace your two hands behind you? Right, keep your hips up just high enough to get there. Straighten the elbows, tuck the shoulder blades under, but don't turn the arms into external rotation. Can you sort of keep the thumb side of the hands and your interlaced hands, keep them a little heavier, like hinting towards internal rotation of the arms, even as you gather the shoulder blades more together. And then with straight elbows, if you can, bring your hips down onto those interlaced hands. So the thumbs sort of go into the cleft of the buttocks, right? If that upsets you too much, or if this is too hard, then simply hook your thumbs, palms face down, and then put your hips on your forearms. So that's a little gentler version. Either way, when you land your hips on your arms, I find there's a little shortening in the lumbar. So lengthen the tail, lengthen the lumbar, slide the lower back body flesh towards your feet, and then let your hips settle. Now this might be a lot for you, so adjust as you need to. You could do one arm at a time. I simply love, in spite of the intensity of the arms, like that's part of the thread, right? And also, I'm straightening my legs. You don't have to, sure can. I'm straightening my legs. It puts a little more weight in the wrists, a little less weight in the shoulders. But the point I was going to make is staying with the thread can keep us present in the depths of awareness in times of difficulty, as our poem suggested. And can keep us present and grounded to also recognize the boons, the gifts, the unexpected silver linings, even in the midst of intensity. Like in this scenario, how is the breath in the front chest here? Front ribs, side ribs, I find it glorious. Okay, bend your knees. Lift your hips to bring your arms out, and can you take just your right arm up and all the way overhead? Reach it far as it goes. Let that right shoulder blade slide right up the back. When you take your arms overhead, do not pull your shoulder blades down your back. And can you roll onto your right side? Probably best if you can see me. Head as a head rests on right arm, if your shoulder lets you. If it doesn't, insert one of your blankets. And so the left arm settles behind you. And can you internally rotate that arm so that your fingertips can point towards your head, and you can put the palm of the hand flat to the floor. Nestling the pinky side of that left hand where the floor and your back ribs meet. And I'm trying to like karate chop pinky blade into that gap underneath my ribs along the floor to slide left shoulder head back. So as you try to cut the hand forward under you, slide the left shoulder back. And then from here, roll your head, your nose, your face towards the floor in front of you. So shoulder back, nose and face forward. And keeping the nose and face forward, start to slide or drag the blanket with your hand down towards your hips. So now it's like more lengthening of the palm and the fingers where they meet the palm. Don't free the hand off the floor just yet, but maximizing the length from fingerprints to heel of hand to top of shoulder to neck to tip of chin. And then free the arm, left arm, reaching long behind you. Long, long, long. Palm faces down now. And then slice that arm back, so like you're feeling for the floor, way behind you. And once you touch it with your hand, keep sliding, reaching that hand, and let it pull you onto your back. And that left arm is out to the side. Swing your knees up on your back and slide that left arm all the way overhead. Reach it long as you roll onto your left side. Same deal, right arm. And I'm going to flip over so you can see. Right arm behind you, internally rotate the arm so the fingers start to point towards the top of your head from behind. And how high you can slide those fingers up dictates how much of the palm you get to the floor. And try to really tuck it, snug it underneath you so that pinky blade is trying to wedge underneath where your back ribs meet the floor. And keep clipping that pinky forward against your back to roll the shoulder back. Slide the shoulder back and then roll your face towards the floor. Now, this is a time to drag your shoulder blade down your back. When your arm's behind you, shoulder blade down the back is more skillful, it's more anatomically appropriate, physiologically, kinesthetically appropriate. And when the arms are in front of you and overhead, the shoulder blades go up. And if you have questions about that, feel free to message me. Keep the hand heavy on the floor. Keep your face turned towards the floor and try to drag the blanket down towards your hips, just smearing the length of the hand and fingers down towards the hips. I'm pausing here because I got a strong sensation around my middle fingerprint to my heel of hand. So take your time, breathe like the lungs start in the hands, and eventually taking your time to straighten the arm fully but sliding it slowly. Rolling the shoulder back. If you can, keep fingertips in contact to the floor as you spin the palm so that fingers now point towards your feet. And then sweep the arm behind you and let that pull you back onto your back and eventually swing your knees up. Arms wide, T-shape position. Feet on the floor. Have your feet right together, legs and feet right together. And then slowly start to curl the right fingers towards your left hand. And then that'll pick up the hand and then the forearm and then the upper arm. And just the shortest pathway from right fingertips to left fingertips. And at this point, it's going to start to pull the ribs and the shoulder off the floor. Resist with the legs. So make it a twist led by the upper arm, and then eventually the legs go because the arm reaches so much. Right hand lands on left hand, but then slide it past. So you're face planting gently into the floor. If your left shoulder gets crabby about it, you got to push the back of that left arm into the floor and engage the outer left shoulder. Can you work that out? And then going back the exact opposite. So lay your left shoulder blade on the floor, dragging that long right arm, then lay the spine on the floor, keep the knees over there to the left, and then start to find right shoulder blade on the floor, then right upper arm, all the way out to the right fingernails. Now you're in a twist. Pull the knees up. Knees to sky, left fingertips reach towards right hand and slide across the path of least resistance, except the legs resist. So you end up in this arm initiated twist and let that eventually pull you over, and then slide the left hand past the right hand. Turn your face to the floor. If your right shoulder's upset, just push that whole length of the right arm into the floor and engage and support. As you start to reach your spine back, left shoulder blade back, left shoulder lands on floor before the upper arm, before the lower arm, before the hand, before the fingers. Then you bring the knees up. One more time each side. Right fingers reach, pulling the arm, pulling the shoulder, pulling the upper spine, pulling the head, then the middle spine, then the legs, and then reach the hand past, roll the head. And then unroll from left arm to left rhomboid, to the spine, to the right rhomboid, to the right shoulder blade. Knees are still over there. Unfurl the arms. It's a supine twist before you bring the knees up, and then the left arm goes across. Resist with the knees until you just can't anymore and you just fall over. And then unroll back. Upper body first, and then lower. And then full body stretch. Look around, feel around for your belt. Grab it. And then I'd like you to be able to have a long handle for your belt. So if you've got a 10-foot belt, you could simply have the belt open and have your two long 5-foot ends streaming down towards you. If you've got a short belt, like a 4-foot or a 6-foot belt, you're going to need to make a little loop for your foot and have a long tail to hold on to. Because I'd like you to have straight arms, belt loops over your right foot, and then the arms go all the way overhead. You could start with a bent left knee. That makes it easier, actually. To slowly straighten the down leg. Staying committed to the straight, strong, engaged upper leg. And then as you straighten the left leg, it offers considerably more contrast to work with. You might have to lengthen the strap so your arms can still be overhead. Now, if your shoulders don't like this, you don't have to have arms overhead. You could simply hold on to the belt in a different way, and I would recommend that you hold on to the belt with the backs of the arms on the floor, shoulders on the floor, elbows bent. So shoulders back, right? If you can't take arms overhead for prolonged periods of time. Supta P1. And now from here, the way we were finding that thread of connection from palm to palm across the upper back, can you find that thread of connection from foot to foot through the hip sockets in the sacrum? So what we do in the legs doesn't have to distort the spine. I mean, it can if we let it, but can you choose otherwise? And as we take this to Supta Padangusthasana 2, what I invite you to do is catch the belt straps, the belt with your left hand, and hold that left hand close to your chest so your left elbow is bent. And right hand helps to support the leg going out to the right. You're probably going to have to slide the belt through your left hand only as much as it needs to keep the belt taut and let the leg go. So you end up having this like bow and arrow. Left hand is pulling. Tuck left shoulder blade down the back and firm it into the ribs. And you've got this tether of tension from right foot to left hand, and the leg can stay pretty much suspended in the air. Your right hand might be over there supporting it. And inviting the back, lumbar, low right lumbar, right back buttock flesh to slide down towards the left leg, and the right sit bone rather scooped towards ceiling. So the back is still broad. You don't narrow the back to take the leg out to the side. Rather, you lengthen and widen the front. As we go to Supta P3, same job with the right hand. As you put the belt in the right hand, but have that hand right up against the chest, have that elbow bent out to the side. Left hand is out to the left. Can hold the floor down with that left hand. And so punching through that right foot, pulling with the right hand. And what you might end up with is like this sort of teeter-totter effect where it's either the foot goes to the floor or the right shoulder goes to the floor. Or maybe if you pull enough with the hand and reach enough with the foot, they both get a chance to land. It's not likely, but it's worth being curious about. Okay, back up to the top. We got one more on this side. Soup to P 4. It almost never gets taught. Bend your left knee, left foot on floor. Cross the right ankle on the left knee and keep the loop around the foot. Can you bring the right arm up and over the back of your head like a cow face arm? So I'm going to turn so you can see. And you're holding onto the belt that's attached to your right foot. Bring that left knee in with you. So bring the figure 4 in with you to support the right foot coming towards left chest. And you might need to gather up the belt with your right hand some more. You could support the right foot with your left hand now as you put your left foot on the floor. It's a lot for the right hip. So an alternative to this would simply be just figure 4 on your back and interlace your hands on your left shin or hamstring, right? And you put it in park. Those of us who are going for the bigger shape, either it's really available and it feels good, or we just don't know any better. One or the other. Or we're gluttons for punishment. You can start to slowly lengthen, straighten your left leg. It's a big deal. And it might sort of be up in the air. It might pull your head up in the air. So give yourself the supportive space as you need it. I'm going to support my right foot with my left hand a little bit just to steer it. Oh goodness, let's stay for 30 more seconds because this is hard. Where's your thread? The thread of quietude, the thread of stillness, the thread of connection to the realms deeply underlying this experience. This is just surface, fluff, and intensity. And then untangling all your parts. Unfurl limbs to however you want. Just gonna pause here for a second with hands on belly, feet on floor. Baby ball on your back. Curl it all in. Take this to a half boat. And to a full body stretch. To left leg up. Remember, short belt people, you got to have that little loop over your foot. And the rest of the tail of the belt goes long with the arms overhead. If you're not doing the arms overhead thing, have the upper arms on the floor. Tuck those shoulder blades under and behind you and hold on to both sides of the strap. In time, straighten your right leg, and in your mind and hopefully in your body, invite the right hamstring, I'm talking about the lower leg now, to be like the heaviest thing. And the hamstrings, you got 3 of them, and they're quite long. They go from your sit bone to below your knee, right? Can you make the upper hamstrings the heaviest? Way up by the sit bone, and even more specifically, can you make the inner upper hamstring the heaviest? And I'm swiggling around trying to get there myself. For most of us, the left hamstring is tighter. It certainly is true for me. Keep an eye, you probably can't see it, but keep an inner eye on your right big toe. You don't peel that big toe back towards your face dramatically, but maybe more the pinky toe. pinky toe you can peel back towards your face as you try to root the upper inner hamstring. And you feel that connection, that thread from the soles of the feet along the back of your shin bone to the inner thigh, to the hip sockets, to the sacrum, to tail and head, to arms, right? And we're going to go to Supta P2, so catch the belt with your right hand real close to your chest. The elbow is poked way out to the right side, and hold on to the belt. You let it slide through your hands some as you take left leg to the left, and left hand can support it. But in theory, the pulling of the right and the outer left foot sort of karate kicking into the belt can create the tension that you might need to stay on the middle of your sacrum. Don't get light on the right butt cheek. Supta Padangusthasana 2. And the left lumbar is long, and the buttock flesh of the left side is sliding down towards your right foot, tail scooping to sky. And as we go to Supta P3, catching the belt with the left hand, once again keeping that elbow bent, left hand really close to the chest, turning the pelvis. So left leg swings across, and right hand can support left foot if it needs to. Or in theory, the pull of the belt, like bowstring drawn back by your left ear. And shoulder blade maybe on the ground, or maybe it pops up when the left foot gets to the ground. I vote you try to get both, maybe, or flirt with the idea. What would it be like? But defaulting to shoulder blade being heavier is probably a little better. Up we come. And then if you bend right knee, left ankle on right thigh, figure 4, you could simply pull the whole thing in here, right? Or keep the figure 4, pull it in, hold the belt with your left hand, and you bring that left arm up and behind your head. So it's like a cow face arm. And the head just sort of nestles, in theory, in the crook of the elbow. I'm going to use my right hand to support the position of the right foot, because it's delicate for me, left foot rather. And then straightening right leg. Maybe. You don't have to, right? Because it might be plenty with the right knee bent. No big toe twangs. So as you re-extend the right leg, if you do, can the pinky toe sort of be the closest one to you? I'm noticing my left hand doesn't have as strong of a grip as my right hand does. So right hand here is helping me a lot on this side. And that same lumbar and left buttock flesh flowing down and down and down towards the right leg. Holy moly, that's about enough of this business, right? Undo. Undo. Do what you need to do here. And what I like to do is eventually come up. So I'm going baby bow to half boat. To full boat. I'm right on the edge of my blanket, so there's a little bit of a challenge there. And can you do Baya Padangusthasana from full boat? Catch your toes. If you cannot do that, then stay in your full boat and just grab the backs of your knees and use the arms to help sustain the shape as you lift up through your chest. Same idea. If you can catch your toes with your peace sign fingers. And then Heave the heart up. And let the shoulder blades be pretty neutral behind you. Almost like they're supporting the lifting of the heart. And here's another chance to get the pinky toes closer to you and push those big toes forward into your fingers. From here, release your feet, cross your ankles in front of you so you can simply spin around and face your blanket. And then take the part of the blanket that's closest to you and fold about 4 inches of it over and roll it up. Nice tight roll. Nice tight roll. And take that blanket roll and put it way in the backs of the knees. And then come to sit down on it. Oh, wow. If this is too much to bear, I'm going to adjust mine a little bit. If this is too much to bear, then catch your 2 blocks and put one under each hand, like little scaffolding to support the weight of the body. I invite you here to let the weight slide a little left, like hip sliding, like typewriter carriage, and then a little right. So the sliding of the pelvis results in the pressure of your weight through the blanket roll to spooge the leg muscles one way and then spooge the leg muscles the other way. So you're rolling from like outer calf, outer hamstring, inner calf, inner hamstring. Something else for sure. Now, you could stay where you are and deal. I'm going to move my blanket back just like an inch, no more than an inch. So I'm pretty much right at the bottom of the gastrocnemius muscle, the most surface calf muscles. There's 2 of them, 2 heads, and I'm right at the bottom edge where they merge and weave into the tendon, Achilles tendon. And where muscles turn into tendons, where tendinous fibers turn into more muscular fibers, can get pretty screwy tissue there. And so take heart, don't lose your thread. And for some, the thread is love. I would say for me, so don't lose that capacity for a loving presence, even when there's difficulty. Okay, keep the blanket roll. Just set it aside for the moment. Downward dog. Yum. Look for that same phenomena from the hollow of the palms of the hands up the underarm, through the armpits to the heart, and from the soles of the feet behind the ankle bone, up the backs of the shins, inner knees, inner thighs, hip sockets, pelvic half, sacrum. And if you can find sacrum to heart, to head, it means you can find sacrum to hands. You can find hands to feet, feet to head, hands to tail. If the threads are present, it's all very deeply connected. Walking your feet towards your hands, and on your way, you might grab your blocks. For sure, grab your blanket roll. And put the ball mounds of the feet high up on that blanket roll, and the heels still on the floor. So how high can the toes be up, hiked up on some aspect of your blanket roll? If your blanket roll is too big, unroll it some. Excuse me. And the backs of the heels on the floor. I don't need the blocks, so I'm not going to use them. Use them if you need them. And then can you
sustain the vertical flow of the heel bone. If your ankles are all collapsed in and the knees are turning in, or there's weirdness, you gotta make your blanket roll smaller. Can you keep 10 toes straight ahead and active and alive and not wilting or gripping? Just stretch them long. And a clear line from like third toe or second, third toe right into the front of your ankle joint and straight down and back from there is the heel bone. OMG. Okay, step off your blanket roll. Set it aside, grab your belt and come on up.
Hi, welcome to standing. Make a loop in your belt big enough that you could step your right leg through it. And how tight the belt is depends on your left shoulder's ability to reach around and catch that belt. So do that. Reach your left arm around and catch the belt that's looped around your right leg and go wide-legged on your mat. Externally rotate your right leg and turn your left leg in. Soften both your knees. Really scoop that right sit bone forward so it sort of leans the upper body back and side bend towards the right. I got both my knees soft. Use your block if you need it, or you could just catch hand on ankle or shin. Triangle pose with this half bind of the arm. And for people who don't easily tuck the fingers to the inner right thigh, this belt is a good way to get the hook up. So make the belt a little bigger if you need it. And I'm going to use the belt because I like the action of pulling against the belt, which is harder to do just with the hand tucked in there. So pull that belt like you're pulling a weed, the weed of the right leg out of the earth. And use that to turn the chest and open the shoulder. And let's please bend that right knee to side angle. In theory, right knee is stacked over the heel and the thigh bone is horizontal, parallel to the earth. And so as you try to pull the belt not only up to the sky, also pull the belt back towards your left heel. And really tug that shoulder back, elbow back, and looking at the right toes lovingly, bringing that length into the neck and front chest again. One more moment. Keep your legs as they are. Don't come out of the right knee. Bring the torso up. Bring your right arm up. And then now shove the belt that you're holding onto down towards the right heel and reach way up, and maybe over to the left with your right hand. I'm going to look down at the left foot. One more moment. Up you come. Let go of the belt. Just let it fall. You could stab or hop or heel toe your feet right together. Belt on the other leg. Right arm swings around to catch the belt from behind. So if the right shoulder is tighter or looser, adjust with the belt. Probably tighter for most. If you're right-handed especially, legs go wide. Soften both your knees and turn the whole left leg out and turn the right leg in a little. Left sit bone way forward, like it's looping around to catch up with its own heel as you side bend to the left. Keep your knees soft until you've really planted the feet, the three corners of the feet. And then use those three corners to sort of suction up a little bit from the earth, like little hands gripping or suctioning, or little lizard paws. They got their little suctions. And then use that to straighten the legs, pull the energy up into the pelvis as you tug
with that right arm. Tug, pull, and then try to not only lift the belt to the sky, but send it towards the right heel as you bend your left knee. Got to grow the energy of the right leg longer, much longer. Extend, piercing the full length of your right leg through the hollows of the bones with pure prana. Keep breathing. Oh goodness. Gazing lovingly towards your left toes. Hang on, Chiner. Keep your legs as they are. Torso comes up, and you're trying to punch that belt down towards your left heel. So right arm shoving, reaching, growing towards left heel, and left arm goes up and over to the right. Look to your right foot. Sha, sha, sha. And up you come. Let go of the belt. Step or hop or heel toe your feet right together. Pause. I'm gonna let the cat in. I know, it's exciting. And take your belt off and make the loop as wide as your collarbones. Wide loop. And then slip your wrists into it from behind. And then on your mat, stepping your right foot forward and your left foot back. Heels on one line if you can work it out. And the left leg is of course turned out. Pyramid stance, Parsvottanasana stance. And the left hip is turned forward, even though the left leg is externally rotated. So your legs are adducted, they're on the midline. And then reach the arms back. Can you let your thumb tips lead the way? Now, it's often the case that the shoulders end up rounding forward here. So instead of allowing that to happen unchecked, can you lift the collarbones? Invite the bottom tips of the shoulder blades to draw down towards each other. And then the whole length of the arm bone, including the top of it, goes back. And let your thumbs reach the furthest. So that little reaching, wrapping, curling of the fingertips towards the ceiling behind you. Right, palms face each other. Thumb side longer. And land on that left heel like a kickstand. Lift the pubis, lift the breastbone, lift the collarbones, lift the bridge of the nose. And then coming forward from the hips. Let the left leg push you forward. Let the right leg push you backwards. And can you pause with the torso parallel to the floor? You're going to lengthen the abdomen. Bridge of nose still forward. Little extension in the neck spine, thoracic spine. Last moment. Those of you who got the chops and the length, maybe you keep diving down. Maybe you don't. Hi, China. Up you come. You could simply turn the body, do a 180. So now left toes are forward. Right toes are a little turned out. Right leg's a little turned out, but the right hip is hugging the midline. So really narrow the pelvic floor right to left and lengthen it front to back. This time, can you make the number 3 with your fingers? So thumb catches index finger and spread the other fingers really wide. Pinky ring in middle. Stretch the arms back. And then thumb catches middle finger and spread the other 3. Index ring and pinky wide. I call these the 3 mudras. The mudras of the 3s. Number 3. Thumb catches ring finger. So we're touching different places in the shoulder in theory, because each finger relates to a different part of the shoulder joint. Spreading pinky, middle, and index, and then lastly, thumb catches pinky. Hoo-wee. Feeling it in the shoulders. Really plug that right leg in.
This time, can you, after the 3 mudras, the number 3 mudras, can you slide or scooch the arms further through the belt so it's above your elbows? And now put hands on hips. Load the back leg, lift the pubis, lift the belly, lift the sternum. I'm going to shorten my belt to skosh. Chest up, bridge of nose up, keep all that length and extend it forward over that front leg. And with your hands on your hips, in theory, you can feel if they're going akimbo, if they're getting crooked. Keep reaching back through the left hip crease and forward through the right hip, lengthening, and maybe you keep going down. But it's like a hands-free thing, so be gentle. Be careful. Don't step on your cat. One moment, hi, she's like, please don't. Up you come. And then let's step the back foot forward. If you interlace the hands behind you and simply stretch the arms long, the belt might just fall right off. Okay, I'm just gonna pause here. If you want to go through both dogs, go for that. Okay, one more standing pose. Belt again. And this one's a little tricky. Some of you have done it with me before. So if you make the belt quite a lot bigger and you put your right leg through it and you pull the length of the loop of the belt across the front of your body so that this time it's the right hand, same side leg, that comes around and catches it. Right, so the loop you've pulled across the front of the body, and the right hand comes around and catches it from the other side. So there's a double strap loop pulled taut across the front of your hip creases. You're probably going to want to preset a block. We're going to come back to that same stance. Right foot forward, left foot back. Left leg turned out, legs on the midline, revolve triangle here. So take your left arm up. Pull on the belt with the right hand and let that draw the shoulder back as well as draw the left hip back. Take that same forward bend just like before, but this time with the block or no block. Either inner foot, inside right foot, or outside right foot. Start to plunge that left hand down into the block. Like shove, like be pushy. Shove the block into the floor. So for us pushy types, here's our moment of glory. For the more passive types, you got to step it up here. Really shove, 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 shove the block, and then pull, pull, pull on the blanket. There's no blanket on the belt. And let that turn you. Let that turn you. Turn, turn, turn. Keep wrapping the right hip back. Oh no, all the animals are joining in. And then take your time to come on up. And you can release the belt. Step left foot to right foot. Pause. You want both dogs? Rock your dogs. What can I do for you? Lay down, please. Put the belt on the other leg. Step left leg through. And you might have to adjust the length of the belt, remember. The whole belt loop swings across the front of your pelvis, and the left hand from behind catches it. Left foot forward, right foot back, preset block. Right toes, right leg turned out, but right hip hugging in. Like that's a whole workshop in and of itself. It's really a difficult thing to refine. And so many people I see are challenged by it. Not here because I can't see anyone, but when I teach person to person, which is of course my favorite, come on down. Call me old school, but I like yoga classes in person. Shove the block down and pull on the belt. So there's this discussion, this conversation between the left hand and the right hip. Right hip turning forward and the hand pulling against it. So it creates a beautiful generator, engine for the twist. And push the block into the floor. Open the front of the left lung. And when you're ready, find your way back up. Lose the belt, step the back foot forward. Pause. I'm going to go through both dogs here. We're going to meet sitting. Oh, let's not meet in sitting yet. I'm sorry. But from down dog, bring your knees down and catch that blanket roll. And put it right at the hip crease. And then forward bend over it like you're going to go into child's pose. Excuse me. And then keep it in your belly as you go to down dog. All right, so you have to sort of suction the belly upwards to hold the blanket. Really lifting the belly. And then can you keep the blanket there as you step the right foot forward? Lunge with blanket belly obstruction. I'm going to put a block under the left hand inside the right foot. And then how much of your left side belly and ribs can you roll down onto the blanket? So try to smash the blanket now with left side ribs. Turn into it. Hug the right knee into the midline and wrap left ribs into the blanket roll and take the right arm straight to the sky. Don't let the right hip buoy up, but rather sit down in that right hip, sit down on that right heel, and wrap left side in to the blanket roll. Hollow the belly back. And then the right hand comes down. And then the right foot steps back and you keep the blanket roll on your belly. Might need to adjust a little bit. Really lift the belly. Really lift the inner thighs, inner knees. Hollow the abdomen back. And then step the left foot forward. You're sort of in the way. And you're not even sort of in the way. You're absolutely in the way. And put a block onto your right hand. Start with left hand on the outside of left knee and let that be a little support to wrap right side ribs, right side belly into the blanket. Keep the left knee hugging midline. Keep left sit bone rooting. Left arm up. So it's like outer left hip forward and down. Left sit bone forward and down. Left shoulder back. Left arm up. Last moment. And then back you go. Let's lose the blanket. Watch out, China. Lose the blanket. Down dog. Maybe both dogs. Okay, now to sitting. So, set the blanket roll aside. We're going to use it again. And catch one block. Now, depending on the kind of blocks you have, I've got pretty firm blocks. I don't like the squishy stuff. when it comes to blocks, yoga blocks. And mine are 4 by 6, 4 by 6 by 9. Some blocks are only 3 by 6 by 9 and they're squishier. So the invitation is, if your block is stable enough, to have it on its second side. And then you're going to sit on it with your sit bones. Now, if that's not tall enough or it's too flimsy, you could stack your 2 blocks. That might be better. Or do the second side on another block that's already there. And then pull your heels in as close as you can to your sit bones without falling backwards. And you're going to sit on the front edge of your sit bones with your legs right together. Pashasana, so twist. So again, right hand meets outer right leg in this gesture of stabilizing. As you take the left arm up and reach from the fingertips and feel the length through the thread to the tail. Big exhale, maybe a quadruple exhale. As you bring the outer left elbow, upper arm, armpit, something across. Balance the weight on both feet. Hug both legs together and plunge right fist into the catcher's mitt of your left hand. And use that tension to lift through left lung. Lift and open left lung. And when you're ready, undo. Got a couple options here. You could do like a little Baddha Konasana. You could stand up. You could fold forward. You could rock your 2 dogs. You could pet your cat. Other side. So, it's not like elbow to outer knee as the goal. It's a spiraling of the spine, bringing the upper right forward towards the lower left, outer left leg going forward. In an effort to stabilize the legs and not let them offset too much, you have to hug the midline and sort of suction the right thigh bone back towards you, left thigh bone away from you, and plunge the left fist into the right catcher's mitt. Try to unrumple your right lung, stretch it out like a sheet blowing in the wind on the line. Make the right lung as billowy as possible. And then as you're ready, come undone. I'm going to down dog. Hi. And then from here, come on down, move the 2 blocks out of the way, catch your 1 blanket roll, and then make a roll with your other blanket. Make a roll with your other blanket. Same way, from folded in fourths to folding the top part over and rolling it up. We're almost done here. A couple more things. You could stop here and rest and be done. Namaste. And then you're going to take your 2 blankets and, okay, now's the time for all beautiful kitties to go. Oh, wait. You want to take the 2 blankets, preferably the firm side, not the super loose, flappity side, but the firm side, the folded side, and point those towards each other, making a little V on your mat, like bunkers. And then you're going to drop your pelvis right in between them towards the point of the V. I recommend, if you're not used to doing Jatara Parivartanasana, which is the supine legs swinging right and left twist, you could bind your legs with a belt way up at the thighs, mid-thigh, cinch them up tight as hell. There's also the choice to do this with bent knees. I got pretty open hamstrings, so I'm going for straight legs. And then the bunkers are to help support the weight of the legs. So I've got, a gap between my hips and the bunkers just wide enough that like my fingers could fit in. So when you aim the toes to the right hand, that the blanket sort of catches the right sit bone a little bit and helps with the cause. And then you swing them up and you go to the other side. If you're working with bent knees, then it's knee to armpit. It's opposite knee to armpit. So you're going to go right to left. And I vote you go real slow on your descent. And real slow on your ascent. Go real slow. Arms press back and wide. And you want to keep the opposite shoulder. So as legs go left, right shoulder dives backwards. It's sort of been a theme. Shoulders going back. And as the legs go to the right, the left shoulder tucks back, like tuck them in. Tuck those shoulder blades in. Tuck them under like a well-made bed, and the sheet corners tucked under the bed mattress corners. So right and left. It's strong abdominal work. So I'm going to shut up and just do a few. Okay, a couple more. One more to each side. So I gotta go right and then left. And then release. Feet to floor. I'm gonna unclick the belt. I'm gonna let my legs go long for a second. You could just stop here and be done. Namaste, I love you. I'm gonna do a bridge pose, however, and then an inversion. So, I'm sort of changing my plan a little bit because of time. So catch your block, cast your blankets aside, starting to go into bridge pose. This is going to be like our last thing. Bridge pose and the Viparita Karani. So with straight arms down by your side, can you make the palms flat to the floor and the thumb side of the hand a little heavier? And the armpits, the inner armpit, upper arm bone, the inner upper arm bone heavier. And stretch your elbows really straight. Whole length of the arms pushes back, dives back as you send your hips up. Have a little gap under your neck. So in theory, there's no part of your spine on the floor, just the back of your head. You keep stomping your feet down. Ozzy, go lay down. Go lay down, Brown. Keep stomping your feet down, magnetizing the knees a little bit towards each other so you can feel the engagement of the inner legs, but still use your outer feet on the floor. And then if you can, you put the block underneath your sacrum. You might have to lift your heels to get it there, but it goes right under your sacrum. And let's let's land here for a moment. Weight in the pelvis, clearly supported by the block. And if there's a sense of a wide back, then invite the deepening of the front. So that flesh just inside the hip points, receding back, receding back. And I think holding the floor down, shoulders back, arms back, palms back is a good place to stay if you can, versus interlacing the hands. And then, you let one knee fall into the chest, and maybe that leg can go straight up without gripping in the belly. That's ideal. If that's the case, take the right leg up. If you have to harden in the belly and really effort in the abdomen, come off the block and simply take legs up the wall. Gentle inversion, compression in the throat, widening across the chest, and a soft settling in the abdomen after all the twisting, after all the squishing about. I invite you to stay here for a minute or more longer. Reestablishing your connection to the thread if you lost it, or maybe it's so clearly there that you're fully committed inwardly. And that full commitment to inward reality does not cancel out or mute the outer. In theory, the deep connection to our inner is revealing information in real time as to how we're responding to the outer. And that we can better calibrate our responses to things simply by paying attention, never losing the thread. If you're ready for the end of the practice, feet come down. When you lift your hips to pluck the block out, do that, and then don't roll the spine down, but stick your butt out first, let your hips touch first, then maybe knock the knees together and you can relax with hands on belly or something. You've got some blanket rolls there, maybe tuck one of your blanket rolls behind your knees as you come to lay back in Shavasana. I'm going to read you the poem again that we started with. It's a William Stafford poem called The Way Things Are. There's a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you're pursuing. You have to explain about the thread. But it's hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen. People get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread. And the thread, however you define it, is the only true refuge, the pathways in to the inner realms, and the deepest inner realms, it is said, are unchanging. And so may you find your way there, and may you rest. May you be well. Thank you. I love you.